But that's become the most popular type of site now, is conspiracy site. And there's many out there. There's professional agents out there as well who've been funded by governments and even launched by governments, to be well known, especially in Europe, to lead the conspiracy sites. Then they bring in the UFOs, the aliens, until you have achieved your goals. Counterintelligence, from a government's perspective, is taking information and data that could be crucially, it could be bad for the ruling regime, and finding ways to counter that knowledge, counter it. What you do, standard-wise, if you can't defame the person who's bringing out a truth or kill them, is to bring out your own heroes. Launch them well, finance them well into the same area, saying the same stuff that others are talking about. It's called intelligence, giving out facts. And once they have the following, then they start bringing in aliens and UFOs, and they bring in the New Age, the whole New Age religion into it. Spirituality is the big term they're using today. Until a newcomer, a skeptic, will hear this stuff from the paid agent, who's very good, who says gives the same data as the person who doesn't go into the UFOs and so on. But the guy who doesn't go into the UFOs, aliens, reptilians, and all the rest of it, suddenly is thrown out with the other guy. You're classified with them by association. Your topics are associated. Even though you stay clear of the fantasy stuff, the disinformation, you'll be lumped along with them. And then you've countered the intelligence. When you mention the facts, people laugh at you, say, oh, you probably believe that the aliens are running the world now, and that's it.
When I was talking about human beings being creator beings, I was serious about that. Granted, we do it on a very small scale here because honestly, we're just very intelligent apes at this point. But imagine millions of years from now, we could craft universes, we could craft star systems, we would be, I'm not trying to have a God complex, but we would be ultimately gods, we'd be creator beings. It makes very good sense to me why extraterrestrials or other intelligent life don't just fly down here and rescue us, or tell us the error of our ways. This seems sort of like a gauntlet or an activity we have to put ourselves through to strengthen our spirituality to get to the point where we can be citizens of the universe. That's why sort of UFOs and the whole alien phenomenon, there's a loophole where you can just jump right out of it and not believe it and not think it's tangible. There's always a series of events that let you kind of take the conservative route and think, okay, well, this is just some kind of collective hallucination or fable that everybody's making up because they need to believe in some kind of higher entity or higher power. And then you have all the stories from ancient Babylon up until now about, ancient religions and the symbolism of UFOs and extraterrestrials in texts, and even in the Bible, it's just saturated with rotating discs and lights from the sky and ascensions and dissensions. These can all be misconstrued. And, they don't have to be literal angels or come from other dimensions. Or if they do come from other dimensions, it may just in fact be a consciousness that originally started like ours did, and they just simply did not kill themselves off, did not take the Atlantean route of having a nuclear holocaust, and they actually just became citizens of the universe, and over millions and millions of years started becoming creator beings as a conglomerate, as a godhead, as communities of millions of people that have been evolving for millions and millions of years to form a sort of galactic community that has laws, that has order. They can't just fly down here and tell human beings all the secrets of their civilization, because it takes millions of years for us to work up to that point.
Well, exactly. How would it look, and what would we even have learned as a species if someone else comes down at this point and say, oh, we know you're in a lot of trouble, but we're gonna save you from all of that now, so you don't have to do anything. Just sit back, relax, we'll do it for you.
Precisely. And you know what? Inside a human body, the complexity of your brain and your nervous system and the circulatory system and all the cells in your body, that is a universe. We have the potential to do things that are just being limited right now. If we put our mind to it, we wouldn't need any external help, you know. If anything, it might even hinder the process. We need to do this ourselves. That's the main point.
But we have been given patents from leading German manufacturing companies, including UFO, Krups and BMW, which prove beyond all reasonable doubt that Hitler considered the Nazi secret space program a top priority. And more than 15 billion Deutschmarks were spent developing craft of all shapes and sizes. Secret memos from SS officers revealed that Werner von Braun and Hitler both believed that there were alien civilizations in the universe, and it was their intention to not only conquer all nations on planet Earth, but to also colonize the moon. 1954. Sputnik 1 shocks the world and puts the USSR way ahead in the Cold War. Sputnik 2 takes a dog into space, the first living creature to leave the face of planet Earth. Russia then shocks the world by sending an unmanned probe to the moon. Meanwhile, the US Army planned Project Horizon, a plan to colonize the moon with Americans. This plan was soon abandoned when the true nature of the hostile environment of outer space was discovered by American and Russian scientists. The Explorer 1 space probe confirms planet Earth is surrounded by dangerous radiation. Radiation so powerful that it could cause nausea and cancer. The Van Allen radiation belts and solar particles from the sun are extremely hazardous to humans. Space is also full of micrometeorites which can rip through spacesuits and metal in the blink of an eye. Meanwhile, Russia celebrate getting the first man into space, Mr. Yuri Gagarin. Regardless of the dangers of radiation, and without having spacesuits nor spacecraft which can protect the occupants from radiation, NASA convinced the American people to pay $40 billion for the space program.
The most lethal forms of radiation, of course, are at the higher end of the spectrum. That's gamma rays and X-rays. We know what ultraviolet can do. If you stay out too long in the sun, you get sunburn and skin cancer and die, and it's all very sad. But gamma rays, and X-rays especially, are particularly lethal to humans, unprotected humans. There was no protection that I have been able to identify. I've found no reference to it. I found nothing that will tell me what level of protection is offered, so I have to assume none was. I've contacted the manufacturers of the spacesuits, and they said there was no radiation protection built into the spacesuits, because I asked them if these same spacesuits could be used by technicians to go into Chernobyl or 3 Mile Island, because the nuclear reactors produce the same radiation as produced in space. They said no, not advisable, no protection.
John Glenn reports UFOs to Mission Control, which he describes as looking like fireflies, similar to the Foo Fighters reported by pilots during World War II. Werner von Braun and Hermann Oberth were later to confess that they both believe alien life forms exist and may have already visited planet Earth in the past. NASA soon learned that we are not alone in the universe. In Jonathan Eisen's excellent book, Suppressed Inventions, he interviews Werner von Braun's mentor and teacher, Dr. Hermann Oberth. Dr. Oberth makes it quite clear that he has studied the aeronautic performance of UFOs. In 1972, Dr. Herman Oberth made the following statement. Today, we cannot produce machines that fly the same as UFOs do. They are flying by means of artificial fields of gravity. This would explain the sudden changes of directions. This hypothesis would also explain the piling up of these disks into a cylindrical or cigar-shaped mothership upon leaving the Earth, because it is in this fashion that only one field of gravity would be required for all the flying saucers. Dr. Oberth then added, "We cannot take credit for our record advancement in certain scientific fields alone. We have been helped, and we have been helped by the people of other worlds." Yes, STS-80 was a very, very strange space shuttle mission. What we see is a lot of activity. It can't all be put down to natural phenomena. James Oberg at NASA and all the other pundits at NASA would love you to believe that these are all ice crystals and space junk and debris. Quite frankly, if there was that amount of debris, that sheer number of shooting stars flying around in close proximity to the space shuttle and the Mir space station, it would be not safe to put craft up into space. A piece of rock just a few millimeters across, travelling in the opposite direction of the space shuttle, would rip through the entire structure of the space shuttle and cause a fatal accident. Well, people always say to me, you know, if there's extraterrestrials and if there's UFOs, why don't they make themselves known to us publicly? Well, I think with the space shuttle mission STS-80, that's exactly what they did do. You see objects which are out of focus, or they are transparent in some kind of way. And the first one comes from behind the space shuttle, comes into the field of view, and they make their way to the upper atmosphere. That's at least what it looks like. It's joined by many others, and you get a kind of rough circular formation appearing. And then you get the piece de resistance, the last orb comes into the center of this formation, and as soon as it finds its position, it lights up. And then you can see a sort of dance of lights around this formation. Now, this suggests to me incredible intelligence. It suggests to me that they are saying, look at us, look how clever we are. And it's an astounding piece of footage.